Here are my 7 secrets to property management success. Number 1, don't fall behind with inspections. Inspections are often one of the most time-consuming yet mundane tasks for a property manager to carry out, but absolutely crucial in the successful management of any rental property. Not doing so can also be a breach of your agreement with a landlord. And while it can seem that an hour or 2 of your day has been wasted when in fact everything was fine with the tenant and the property, there will be a rare occasion when you pick up a tiny niggle that prevents a potential catastrophe. So ensuring you keep up with regular inspections can pay dividends. It's easy to let them fall by the wayside, especially when you might be busy fulfilling lots of new instructions or viewings. The key is to forward plan an inspection calendar as soon as a property becomes let agreed. Number 2 is proactively promote your value add. In Britain, we are renowned for self-depreciating like no one else and rarely sing our own praises. However, in an industry that is often looked upon with a certain level of mistrust, it's important to shout about the good things. Even when it might not feel like what you have done for the landlord or the tenant is positive initially, it's likely that how well you deal with it demonstrates the value you add as a professional service provider. Number 3 is constantly communicate and be available. Have you ever heard of over-communication to be a problem? Perhaps in a sales environment, but when it comes to delivering a service, you can never communicate with your clients and customers enough. Usually, the only reason property managers get inbound calls or emails from tenants and landlords is when there is a problem. It's part and parcel of the job, unfortunately, and you must have a process for dealing with these in a timely manner. Now, this does not mean that the problem has to be solved, but that it at least is acknowledged. Ensure you have a system for sending out holding emails as soon as you can, advising when you'll be able to give the inquiry or concern your full attention. Follow up in the time promised, and even if it's to apologise that there will be a delay. When you're able to deal with it, make sure you tell them and give information on steps you are taking and when you will next be in touch. The same goes for phone calls. If you have a mobile, make sure you have a professional voicemail and that you listen to messages frequently. If calls are made to the office but the correct person is not there to deal with it, the member of staff must feel confident that the message they leave for the colleague will be dealt with. There's no reason why you can't just check in with your tenants and landlords on a regular basis, like with your property inspections. Why not diarise a call to them every few months just to see if they have any concerns or if there's anything you could help with? You never know, it might lead to new business or uncover an issue that can now be sorted before it gets worse. Number 4 is be open and honest. Unscrupulous letting agents have given the sector a bad name in the press for things like hidden charges and secret profits, which can add to their untrustworthiness. To set yourself apart from competing agents, it's recommended that you are completely upfront about your fees and that you're honest and transparent throughout the entire management process. This relates to any work you are carrying out on the landlord's behalf behind the scenes, such as electrical safety inspections, following new regulations, or on the property itself. Do not just do the work and send an invoice or note that on the monthly statement of account without getting explicit consent, unless this type of work has been agreed in advance at the start of the tenancy. Also, don't be afraid to give landlords bad news. Tell them exactly what is needed to rectify an issue, both physically with the property and or with the tenant. Mediation is a huge part of being a property manager, and sometimes you have to encourage landlords to be empathetic. When it comes to managing maintenance and repairs, try to provide 3 quotes unless they want to source a tradesperson themselves. You may have a preferred supplier, but showing the landlord that you are willing to source the best price for them gives assurance that you are working on their best interests. Number 5 is preempt positive reviews. We all know property management problems are rife, and not because of service necessarily, but because things do go wrong. Things break, people have problems, that's life. Reviews are typically used from someone to air a grievance, hence why letting agents get a lot of negative reviews, especially from tenants. but this is often down to a physical problem with the property rather than how it's dealt with. Unfortunately, when you have a job of trying to meet two sets of expectations, the landlord and the tenant, one part usually ends up unhappier than the other. And while you need a healthy database of loyal tenants to market properties to, it's the landlords that pay the management fees, so you must focus on getting positive reviews from both parties. Improving your service and communication, you'll often leave tenants and landlords feeling happy with the outcome, regardless of what the problem was in the first place. Numerous studies have found that customers tend to leave reviews after a negative experience rather than a positive one. Proactively ask happy tenants and landlords to leave reviews via independent channels like Trustpilot and Google Reviews. And should you receive a negative review, be sure to respond accordingly and professionally without being confrontational. Number 6 is develop a content strategy. Many future property management issues, landlord, tenant and tenant dissatisfaction can be avoided by providing clarity upfront and developing an ongoing communication strategy. Firstly, produce detailed landlord and tenant guides that clearly set out what is expected for each party. Landlord guides should detail their legal responsibilities and the agent's expectations in terms of property standards and landlord responsiveness. It should also state the service provided by the letting agent, fees and extra activity costs. You may consider adding personalised content to the final page, which in your agreement and relates specifically to the property. Tenant guides, aside from legally required guides, could include a lot of useful content for how to budget for a rental property to what is expected during the tenant referencing. More importantly, they should be an extension of the tenancy agreement, explaining or highlighting in an easy to understand way what their responsibilities are as a tenant, house rules and how to report issues. Be clear about any allowable and chargeable fees for lost keys and damages, for example. And number 7, add a personal touch to your service. Provided you are not breaching GDPR or data protection laws, it can be a nice idea to send a birthday or a Christmas card to landlords. Digitally is of course most inexpensive option, but handwritten posted cards will have more impact. You could also send hampers to landlords and congratulating tenants on new babies or marriages. These small touches will show you are human. Be warned, however, that if you are failing on customer service, the last thing a tenant or a landlord wants to receive is a Christmas card when they haven't had a response about a management issue. So make sure you're delivering on your promises as a service provider first. If you would like any further information on property management, please contact me direct via social media or visit the Fife Property blog for the full article. Please subscribe, like, share this post with others. Thank you for listening. I'm Richard Cook for Fife Properties TV.